In the last 2 days, that is from the 22nd to 23rd of April, we held meetings of the senior officials, that is the PSs, permanent secretaries, the chiefs of defense forces, and other senior officials. On the first day, the troop contributing countries had their meeting where we received a review and proposed way forward on the security situation and performance of the sectors. And we had presentations sector by sector in Awesome. We also had a brief from the force commander of Awesome. And on the second day, yesterday, 23rd April 2025, we received an update on the security situation in Somalia, the state of preparedness and progress in the force generation, integration, mentorship, and the status of the handed over force operating bases, the Awesome exit plan, as well as funding of Awesome. Excellencies, honorable ministers, we also discussed the need to establish a troop contributing countries plus Somalia peer review mechanism for oversight, accountability, coordination, and monitoring and evaluation.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I take this opportunity to welcome you all to Uganda and to the meeting of the Ministers of Foreign Affairs and Defense of the troop contributing countries to the African Union Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia. In the pursuit of peace and security in Somalia, Uganda was the first troop contributing country to the African Union mission in 2007. Let me pay tribute to all fallen soldiers from the troop contributing countries and Somalia who paid the ultimate price in Somalia, and may their souls rest in eternal peace. Terrorism remains a great threat to peace and security in Somalia and the Horn of Africa. Uganda condemns in strongest terms the numerous attacks perpetrated by Al-Shabaab against TCCs, troops, Somalia security forces, and civilian population in Somalia. Honorable ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, considering the security situation in the Middle Lower Shabelle, where Al-Shabaab has taken over some forward operating bases and grounds of tactical importance, there is urgent requirement for a troop surge to reverse the risk of losing the hard-earned operation gains. It was observed that there is an urgent need for an Awesome troop surge of 8,000 troops to augment the current 11,146 troops. There is need for the federal government and federal member states to harmonize efforts in implementing a strategy on an effective, unified counter-offensive against Al-Shabaab by mobilizing community defense forces to augment the Somali security forces and Awesome forces. It was observed that there is a need to make a difference in this intervention from AMSON and ATMIS interventions by establishing an effective TCC plus Somalia peer review mechanism for TCCs and Somalia. The mechanism will be involved in oversight monitoring and evaluation, coordination and mutual accountability for periodic assessment of the implementation of the outcomes of these deliberations. Your Excellencies and Honorable Ministers, we propose that this mechanism is shared by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda and Dean of troop contributing countries. It should be supported by the African Union Commission as the institutional memory and the Secretariat. The meeting of the peer review mechanism to take place within 2 months. Honorable Ministers, in spite of funding shortfalls in AWSOM and the predecessor missions of AMSON and ATMIS, TCCs have continued to deploy troops in a challenging environment in the fight against terrorism. In addition, some have deployed troops on bilateral basis with immense sacrifice, resiliency, determination in the spirit of Pan-Africanism. It is important to address the perennial challenge of funding affecting African Union missions and the imperative need to implement United Nations Security Council Resolution 2719 to ensure adequate, predictable, and sustainable funding for African Union support and stabilization mission in Somalia. The prevailing financial situation severely constrains the success of the new mission. May I take this opportunity to express our gratitude for the support rendered to African Union missions in Somalia since 2007. We salute the European Union, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, the United Nations, and other traditional and non-traditional partners in this regard. Further, it is crucial to consider the provision of additional resources from the African Union Peace Fund to address the financial shortfalls currently experienced by AWSOM. Colleagues, distinguished guests, I wish to thank all the delegations for their tireless efforts, which have been very fruitful, as illustrated by the detailed report which you are about to consider for adoption in the spirit of the principle of African solutions for African problems and Pan-Africanism.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let me start by thanking the government and the people of Uganda for the warm welcome and the generous hospitality extended to us since our arrival in this beautiful city of Kampala. For close to 20 years now, the troop contributing countries stood by Somalia. They made so many sacrifices in this brotherly country for the sake of peace and stability. Thousands of their valuable sons and daughters paid the ultimate price. I would like to seize this opportunity to celebrate their memory and pay tribute to them. May their souls rest in peace. Your Excellencies, Somalia needs our support. The federal government of Somalia did make tremendous gains against the Al-Shabaab terrorist groups on many fronts with the support of ATMIS forces. In order to consolidate those recovery of territories, the transition from ATMIS to AUSOM must not fail. Yes, the mission is confronted to financial challenges. There are still reluctances to implement Resolution 2719 to Somalia. We at the Commission level, we are working very hard to make it happen. We are engaging so many partners so that the UN statutory contributions be part of the whole financial efforts the African continent is trying to deploy. Given the fact that keeping peace and security across the world is the primarily responsibility of the UN Security Council. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Commission of the African Union will not spare any effort to try and mobilize the necessary resources, but it will take a collective effort from member countries and partners to save this African peace mission in Somalia from collapsing. The stability and security in Somalia is beneficial not only to the Horn of Africa, but also to global peace at large. Your Excellencies, at this juncture, I would like to commend the work done on the ground by ATMIS AUSOM soldiers and the Somali Defense and Security Forces. I will also pay tribute to the Somali federal government for its political efforts in the process of state institution building. The Commission will urge and encourage the federal government to reach out to all federal states for greater inclusivity. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude my brief remarks, the African Union and its member states will continue to support Somalia and demonstrate full solidarity with the government and the people of Somalia. I thank you.
Delegates, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. It's both an honor and profound responsibility to address you today in this pivotal moment for Somalia and the region. We stand together united by a shared vision of peace, stability, and African-led solutions. Allow me first to extend Somalia's deepest gratitude to the Republic of Uganda for hosting this critical summit and to all troop contributing countries represented here. For over 18 years, the African Union mission, now transitioning into AUSOM, has been a cornerstone in Somalia's path to peace. Your commitment, your sacrifices, and the bravery of your men and women in uniform have written a chapter of African solidarity that history will never forget. We will forever honor the fallen heroes, our brothers and sisters, who paid the ultimate price, so that Somalia may have a chance of lasting peace. The Somali people are eternally grateful. Your sacrifices and have not been in vain. They have been laid the foundation for a Somalia that is steadily reclaiming its security and sovereignty. The importance of AUSOM, Excellencies, the establishment of AUSOM is not just a continuation of a previous efforts. It's a critical evolution. AUSOM represents a new phase of partnership, one that aligns with the Somali Security Development Plan and emphasizes Somali ownership while recognizes that the threat posed by Al-Shabaab is far from over. Let me be clear, Somalia today is not a country in a political turmoil. We have a functioning institutions, constitutionally mandated government, and a mechanism in place to resolve political matters through dialogue and governance. Our greatest challenge remains security, defeating terrorism and stabilizing liberated areas. This is where AUSOM is indispensable. The Somali National Army is growing stronger, but we are not yet at the point where we can finish this fight alone. We need your continued support, your forces, your expertise, your solidarity to complete the mission we began together. Security situation and a call for support. In recent weeks, Al-Shabaab has intensified attacks, particularly in Middle and Lower Shabelle. These setbacks reminds us that terrorism remains a persistent threat, not only to Somalia, but to the regional stability. We call upon all TCC to strengthen a quick reaction forces and coordinate a multi-sector offensive. Together, we can break the remaining stronghold of the terror group. Mission financing, and stability. Excellency's awesome success depends not only boots on the ground, but also a sustainable, predictable financing. Without it, we risk losing the hard-won gains achieved through blood and sacrifices. Somalia supports the full implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 2719 and the hybrid model. But we must also innovate and leverage the AU Peace Fund, engaging new donors and involving the private sector to ensure that the OSOM has the resources to fulfill its mandate. Let me reaffirm Somalia is committed to standing on its own feet, but no nation overcomes terrorism alone. With your continued support through OSOM, we can secure a future where Somali forces take full responsibility for security and where peace is not just a hope, but a reality. Today, we seek you to help us finish the job. The Somali people believe in this mission. They believe in the African solidarity, and they believe that together we can deliver a lasting peace, not only for Somalia, but the entire Horn of Africa. I thank you.
Please allow me first to pay tribute to the dedication and bravery of all the men and women from countries that have contributed troops and police personnel to AMISOM, ATMIS, and now AUSOM. Without the African Union forces, the significant progress we witness today in Somalia, with the country having been able to rebuild its state and its institutions, would not have been possible. Of course, none of this could have been achieved without the resolve and patriotic efforts of the Somali people and their security forces in advancing their state building, peace building, and security priorities. Today's summit offers the opportunity to discuss how best to support Somali security forces in the final phase of the security transition to conclude the planning for AUSOM. Our discussions today, we hope, will be guided by the AUSOM mandate, which is to contribute to the creation of enabling conditions for effective stabilization and sustainable peace in Somalia by significantly degrading Al-Shabaab and other armed opposition groups and accelerating the assumption of primary security responsibility by the Somali authorities. So I urge UN Security Council members and financing partners to continue their efforts to reach an acceptable resolution on the AUSOM financing and to secure the necessary resources for the mission. The African Union and the United Nations at the highest levels also continue to engage in advocacy to secure funding for AUSOM, as was also briefed by Commissioner Bankole. Again, without predictable and sustainable funding in place, AUSOM's future may be jeopardized, potentially leading to a security vacuum and the reversal of hard-earned security gains.
The United States does recognize the need to address expected budgetary shortfalls and to finalize the details of the concept of operation, and to do so immediately. We know all too well that Al-Shabaab has repeatedly demonstrated the capacity and the ability to exploit operation shortfalls, as well as gaps in coordination and communication. In closing, it is important to underscore the United States has long been and will continue to be a supporter of peace in Somalia. To this end, we stand ready to work with all the TCCs, all the partners present here, to work together for Somalia's stability and to eliminate terrorist threats that endanger global security and trade. The United States once again thanks the government of Uganda for hosting this important summit. We recognize and honor the heroes from the TCC armed forces who have made the ultimate sacrifice, and we reiterate the United States' interest in working with all partners present to support a future of peace and stability in Somalia.